Amy, Pat, how you guys doing today?
I can't even answer after that last statement.
Too bad it didn't cut in live right before we got on. It would have been actually pretty comical. But anyway, Amy, how you doing?
I'm great. It's my daughter's birthday today, which is awesome. She turns 14, so a little Cali love for her today. But yeah, it's a good day. It's a good day.
Awesome. Pat, how about you?
Preteens and preteen female. What a disaster right there. Hey, I got one too, so I can say that, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I'm actually very lucky. I'm such a tomboy. She's so much like me, so I don't have a lot of like the, what does she call it? Oh, I can't even think of it now. They have this word for like girls that are all girly, and that's not her. So I don't have that part, which is great.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Well, Pat, Amy, welcome. Today's going to be a good day. It's actually sunny out here, Pat.
Right? It is sunny outside. About freaking time.
Snow is starting to melt a little bit. Not good for my backyard rink, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. Then we can get on the golf course sooner than later. So that's a good thing. Anything you guys want to start with before we get rocking and rolling? Amy first?
Yeah, I have a couple housekeeping things. And then first of all, for everybody that's listening, the two of them are in Connecticut. I'm down here in Atlanta. So we had like 70 degrees and sunny yesterday. So I'm totally, you know, I'm loving it. Hate it for y'all up there in the cold. But couple housekeeping things. One, if you're catching us right now live, you know, just so you know, we're live in multiple locations. You can find us on YouTube. Love for you to come there and subscribe. You can find us on different parts of Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and all kinds of places. So love to connect with you. Please share this with anyone that's when you catch us, whether you catch us live or not. And if you are here live, put unfiltered in the remarks. That would be totally awesome. We are powered up by REVAGlobal. So Bob and I are behind the scenes with REVAGlobal. And so any of you that are on here that are needing virtual assistance, pre-trained in real estate, highly skilled, give us a shout. Post that in the comments. We'll help you out. But that's it. Quick housekeeping.
So. I know you had to announce something pretty exciting coming up.
Yeah, we were soon to launch a syndicated weekly call. It's a, I call it Peak Performance Mastery. It's going out to anybody who's currently in coaching, training programs and need that other space filled in. Over here, you get the information on what to do and how to do. Over here, we get the actual application of the information, right? So you can get the results you want. And it includes a weekly call that we do as a group, and then daily audios that go out every single morning to everyone that's part of it, as kind of reinforce the lessons for the week, but also kind of that morning inspiration you need to get your shit done, right? And if anybody's interested in just getting more information about that, just find me, reach out to me, and I can fill you in more detail.
Very nice, very nice. Looks like we're gonna have some fireworks. Look at the good old dog, Dennis Kamak. He already posted after yesterday, anyone can be a female or any assignment they want. That is actually a question. Look at Mr. Picard popping in this morning. We got Guy, we got Diane. What's up? What's up? All right, Pat, Amy, you guys ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, well, what I need clarification on Kamak's statement there.
Yeah,
what are you even saying?
All right,
he's listening to our conversation.
He can't unmute himself, so I'm sure it'll come out. Let's get rocking and rolling because there's a lot of fireworks, some great questions. Thank you, everybody, for sending in about 1 billion questions this week. We got real estate related questions. We got current event questions. We got them all. So let's rock and roll. First one, I just read that less than 10% of people who invest in business op training succeed. Why is that so low? Amy, you want to take this one first?
So wait a minute, the people who 10% succeed as businesses or what? What was that?
Business op training. They get business op training. Only
business opportunity training, that whole category, whether it be training in the stock market, real estate investment, how to sell used cars, whatever it is.
Yep.
Okay, well, but that's just a human thing, right? I think people, in my opinion, I'm moving things around here, people fail, period, because they choose to go do things for the wrong reasons. They're without intention and or they're not really willing to be action takers. That's just, honestly, I think that's a lot of it. They weren't well planned. They weren't well thought through. They didn't start with a clear intention and a clear goal. And I think so many people just go into things with a hope and a dream and an idea, or for as a Band-Aid on something else without actual real intention to build something. I don't care what that is, whether you're going to go and invest in the stock market or you're going to, grow, build a restaurant or whatever that may be.
Pat, I'll let you put a bow on this, but here's my take on it. First of all, what is the true definition of success, right? I don't know. I mean, second, do I think that 10% is low? I don't. I mean, has anyone ever taken a survey on how many people succeed after college? And what does success mean? Getting that piece of paper or getting a job after college that pays X amount of money, right? I mean, you look at, let's roll that into, let's talk about a marketing campaign. Amy, I'll ask you this question. Pat, you can answer as well. If you invest $2,000 a month in a marketing campaign or a marketing strategy or whatever, and you get one deal a month and you make $15,000 on a $2,000 investment, is that success or is that not success in your mind?
Absolutely, that's success. But here's the success part, in my opinion. Number one, we don't spend money on marketing, we invest. So if that person decided to invest money for a result, already they're on the winning category, in my opinion. Secondly, if they're getting a return for the investment and they are tracking that they got that return, yes. And then to me, success is the next place, which is now that they know that 2,000 returns, what did you say, 50?
15,000.
Okay. So if they know that 2,000 returns 15,000 and they want to net 45,000, then they know now exactly what to go do to invest to make 45. I go invest 6, right? So to me, the success person is the person that's looking at all of those details, measuring that, duplicating and scaling that. That's where the success part comes in.
Yep, and I look at it the same way. I mean, it's consistency, right? Pat, if you make $50,000 this month and you invest $2,000 and you don't make anything the next month, are you going to quit or are you going to keep going?
Right. Yeah.
Right. You're going to keep going. It's consistency. People quit too soon. So anyway, Pat, we'll let you jump on this 10% question.
Yeah. And I'd say part of it, or mostly in part, and this is kind of what you said, Ames, is just improper expectations going into it. Right. We feel oftentimes that just the investment in the biz op is the hard part, when in fact, that's not the hard part. That's the easiest part. That's just money, right? The hard part is taking the time to study it, train it, apply it, and then relearn from the lessons of applying it, the things we didn't do right, and reapply, Bob, your consistency, and again and again and again. And our unwillingness to go through that cycle because our expectations were set completely different, right? Is probably the single biggest reason why we quit, right? We felt the big challenge was paying the money. Then we finally get push ourselves to do it once and it doesn't work out and we quit. Now, as far as definition of success, right? And you bring up college, which Bob, and you probably remember this, a video you and I did, probably about 2008 or 9 about what a fraud and a scam college is, right? And then just for an insane on YouTube, the response we got. So we turned off the responders from, because there's mostly people in college bitching and whining that I was so wrong that they made a shitty investment, right? But if you look at success in the real estate investment industry or genre here, and you say, all right, success is monetizing your investment in 12 months post training. Fair enough, right? If you can invest 20 grand and make that 20 grand back in the first 12 months, that's not a bad return, because now you're set to go, right? And a lot of people do much sooner than that. I think that's a really easy bar to reach. Now, if you carry that over to college, right, and you spend year 1, 70 grand, year 2, 70 grand, year 3, 70 grand, year 4, 70 grand, year 280 grand. How many years does it take for most people to earn that money back, right? And it's years and years and years and years. By that definition, college fails us routinely and often, right? So for what it's worth, that I think college education right now, there's a time and a place for, but for the most part, there's a better way to get educated and a shorter path to becoming successful in life.
Yeah, and that 10% success rate anyway, there's a lot, that means 90% a high percentage of those are the victim mentalities that say, oh, I invested in something, didn't work, and they quit. So let's call it what it is. All right, let's keep rock and roll.
Right.
Go ahead.
Oftentimes they're looking for that excuse. They're actually looking for that, right? There's some big statistics just on businesses, not business ops, but like people who start businesses, 60% of all businesses fail within 5 years, right? And of 60% that of those, only half of those actually ever turn a profit. I mean, there's some pretty crazy statistics.
Hey, business is not easy, right? I mean, it is what it is. You got to work your ass off,
Absolutely.
To make it. All right, Dennis Kamek says, Pat, the House passed the Equality Act yesterday, so now my basketball coach friend has to allow guys on the girls' high school basketball team.
Got it. Yeah, and I heard bits and pieces of that yesterday, and I think there's a lot more to it than just that one part of it, right? This is the part I wonder, right? And I'm gonna speak to all of our feminists out there, right? That have been so staunch in women's rights and women's equality. This is destroying everything you stand for and represent and have been working for all these years. It's going to tear it down to the ground. Where are you? Where's your voice now? Why are you sitting back on this one, right? This is going to fundamentally undo anything that you think you made in gains of women's rights and equality in a man's world, right? And I'm in awe at this kind of bullshit.
I just want to say, as a woman, I'm in awe, and I think about like the hashtag Me Too movement, right? Like the Me Too movement, all that was behind that.
Hashtag scam.
Well, but I mean, I just a simple map across of like, now we want to have, co-ed bathrooms. Well, wait a minute. Isn't that a violation of some of the core principles of what we have issues with that we've been mistreated by, that's called for that Me Too. I mean, it's just, anyway, I could go on and on, but it just.
All right, let's move on this one. All right, my office is growing at a rapid pace, and I'm struggling to figure out what roles are essential and what roles are not. How would you break them up? I mean, this is a tough question because you have no idea what your office looks like. Let's assume because Amy, in a brokerage, it's going to look different than if you have a wholesale shop, if you have a rehab shop, etc. So I'll just give you a high-level look at a wholesale office in essence, right? So number one, you probably start with an office manager, right? So you have an office manager do all the back and forth stuff on a daily basis. You definitely need a marketing specialist, right, that handles market, make sure they get marketing out every single day or every single week. You also need an acquisition closing team because you have no one to take those leads and actually turn those into contracts. You got nothing. You need a disposition team to make sure that you can sell those properties. You need a transaction coordinator. And then obviously within that, you have a lead manager. You got a bunch of other stuff. But those are just the main ones. That's how we're set up here, Amy, in Connecticut, with obviously our virtual assistants that are driving all of the leads to us on top of direct mail. We have a lot of moving parts without getting into an hour-long call. But that's the high-level look on that. Amy?
Yeah, well, because you said something important at the beginning. Every office is going to be very different, and every intention for what you're going after is going to be different, as well as what the strengths and weaknesses of amongst your team members, right? So, I can't really technically answer that. Volume has another thing to speak to that too. How much volume are you doing? An office that's throwing out 100 units a month is going to look like a very different structure than an office throwing out one, right? So, I think that's just a very confusing or very difficult question to really answer with some high level honor of detail, but I would say it's to start with, what are you trying to accomplish? Lay out all the tasks that have to happen, and then make sure that those are being bucketed to the right people who fit that role. Don't ask a fish to climb a tree. If the roles require certain personalities, backgrounds, and experiences. So I would start there with who you have and what you need to accomplish, and then are you able to manage the goals that you're setting? And if you're not, then it's time to scale with more people. And that's my.
It starts just with you first, and then you could start, creating those departments. Pat, you got anything to add?
No, that's good.
All right, perfect. All right, next question. I've been asked to be on a number of podcasts, but I've declined them because I don't see how it is a good use of my time. What would each of you say is the main reason to jump on someone's podcast? Amy?
Oh, there's multiple main reasons. First of all, okay, yes, it does have to match your intention. But here's the thing. One is that it's credibility. So just in general, it's just credibility. Even if the podcasts that you are on are not highly watched, et cetera, it doesn't matter. You're able to say, I've been featured on these places. So there's credibility to that. Second side of that is that if you're intentional about dialing in and being on podcasts whose audiences match the avatar of who you want to connect with and do business with, who you can bring value to, right? Then that can help your business. You can literally get tons and tons of business from that, right? So be intentional. There are people out there that are brokers in the podcast world. There are some that are brokers that will help. You can pay them to find and select and help place you on podcasts that match your business and match the content value you provide. There are also brokers out there that can help you promote your podcast. So it's a whole world I would definitely explore.
Pat?
The same reasons that you market would be the same reasons that you go on a podcast, and then you just get more specific and intentional, like you just said there, Amy, right? But the reasons are the same, to expose you and your thing, whatever your thing is, to as many people as you possibly can, and try to attract the ones that want your thing, right?
Yes. You too.
That's why we
All right, I will add to that, and I'll give you a good example. It is credibility, and it's definitely exposure. Literally about 3 weeks ago, I got contacted by a good buddy of ours, Pat, back in the day, back in CT RIA days, because he saw one of our episodes, and he goes, "Hey, I didn't know you were doing that strategy of investing." So now, fast forward today, we have about 9 deals rolling together. I got to phone him this morning. He goes, and he told me the story. He's like, "Bob, dude, I miss listening to your Friday Coffee Break. I would usually I'd usually ride the treadmill, listen to your show, and then I heard you mention one of the strategies that you guys are doing, innovations." He's like, and then Adam, who's your business partner, kept pinging me. I'm like, shit, I might as well, sit down with you guys and connect with you guys. Fast forward now, 3 weeks later, we got 9 deals going with about 100 grand on the board. Right. Not too bad, right? Not too bad. That was from this podcast. And this is Luke that we literally have lost contact with, for a long time. So that's one of the other reasons.
It is so powerful to put yourself out there. So those of you that are watching, so if you're thinking in my mind, well, I want to start a podcast, there's other ways too. Just be out there putting out content. Putting out content, especially video content, can lead to so much. We did a challenge 2 weeks ago for our membership here at the Powerhouse community. Everybody had to do a Facebook Live that day. They had to pick the intention on the call that morning, and they had to do the live. So 29 people did the live before the end of business during that day. And of those 29 people, over 70% of them got active business from that quick, tiny 4 to 5 minute Facebook Live video. Like literally putting out content, guys, is huge. So I just want to give that little connect the dot for people, because other people watch you and they go, man, I could be a lender with you, or I could be a partner with you, or I could sell deals to you. There's so many things that happen, but you got to put the word out.
Yeah, credibility, exposure is really what the main thing is there. All right, Pat, it's right up your alley here. What will cool the housing market so this incredible bubble does not explode?
Not in a bubble. Let's start there. We're not in a bubble, right? We have an authentic demand and an undersupply of property. They're not artificial. They're not made up. They're nothing like 2008, right? So there's no bubble to explode. Right now, we're so far behind in new home construction due to the past, 10, 12 years of under construction, that it's going to be a long time to even catch up to have enough housing for the new demand on a year-over-year basis, right? So it's not going to explode. What throttles the prices? That ultimately, right, is held in the hand of appraisers to a degree, and of course the consumer. But and this comes up all the time recently, where appraisers are kind of got their back against the wall, where you have multiple buyers willing to pay more for the house than the house can possibly comp out at, right? And appraisers are kind of put between a rock and a hard spot there, because they got to make decisions that they're held accountable to. But in the time and the place where our demand is real, it's authentic, it's not artificial like it was in 2008, right? Appraisers can now look at demand versus not the comps, but what people can actually buy. And when they see there's nothing else to buy, this establishes new baselines for values. But get out of the idea that it's a bubble. It ain't that.
We actually have a question that's going to add to that one, but Amy, let's jump to that one. And there's actually an appraisal question after this. Amy, what do you got?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree that there is a true demand. What was it? There was a report that came out there in 90 offers in like less than an hour on a property. I mean, there is crazy intense demand. So, and that's not going to slow down. I do believe that we have a default inventory coming to the market. So that's coming, but has nothing to do with this bubble of activity. It's not a bubble.
So I will answer the question, in my opinion, specifically. What will cool the market so this incredible bubble doesn't explode?
Okay.
What will cool it is
that was the question.
Rising interest rates, right? And if we keep raising the material cost for new builds, right? That will definitely cool everything.
I would agree with that. So housing starts has actually went down a little bit. And a lot of it's having to do with not just build costs, but timeline to get build materials. So it's both. So supply and demand is causing the cost to come up, but it's also, there's this massive like hole of material time. And that's pushing on the holding costs and all kinds of other costs to the builders. So it was a 105% increase in lumber just year over year in our market. So it's completely changed the game. So where we could build, at $95 a foot, the same property is costing $129. So it's a big shift. And so that's causing some pressure on, again, sourcing inventory to be able to be in at a buy price that enables that.
And working with different town halls, right? If they don't show up to work and they're working from home, it's kind of tough to get an inspection done and get those on time. So that's another thing that's pushing things off. So
wait, you're not telling me that municipalities use COVID as an excuse not to do a damn job. Is that what you're trying to tell me? I'm just getting clarity on what you're saying here.
Actually, you know what? Here in Georgia, actually, though, it's been kind of cool. So most of the municipalities have brought in outside companies that will do, and you can do phone, you can actually do like walkthrough, do like FaceTime and send in photos and different things. It's been kind of crazy. So we've actually had some team members here who have been able to turn properties over faster with COVID closed offices than they were when the offices were open.
So Amy, let me ask you a question there. So you're saying COVID is only here for government workers and not outside companies? I'm just throwing that out there. I think that's
it's a government vacation for some.
All right, let's keep
rolling. It doesn't apply to the grocery store workers, though.
No, or the local bar. But yeah,
that's good.
Speaking of that, I would love to go to a local bar. I missed it. All right, let's keep going. All right, Pat, the next question. How do we overcome appraisal, since this was the kind of what you right. How do we overcome appraisals that are not keeping up with the real value of properties when we sell? Even comps from 4 months ago are outdated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We see that, Bob. You know this. I'm sure you see the same thing where you're at, Ames, right? Yeah, 4 months old is just way. That's a whole nother world right now in real estate. It's way too long ago, So one thing that now this isn't this doesn't solve it, and an appraiser can tell you to go pound sand, right? But giving them hard facts and something for them to support why this property is worth more can only work in your favor. Bob, I don't know if you know this, but I know you know that each year over year we lose people in the state of Connecticut, right? In 2019, we lost 7,500 people. Our net delta, right, for new people and people leaving, we're minus 7,500 people. In 2020, we're actually up we almost gained 17,000 new people in our state, right? So now presenting that type of information to a appraiser, say, here's one reason why the demand is so high. We have real reasons why these properties are worth more. Giving them factual information that they may not be aware of, or maybe they didn't look up on their own, right? Just giving them something to work with.
So Pat, are you saying that the majority of the Republicans are leaving, going on to Florida? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying nothing.
I could tee up Pat all day long. You could tell I've known Pat forever.
Not saying nothing about our politics here in Connecticut.
Not at all. So let me add a couple of things. So I want to put a little balloon around something Pat just said about you got to give evidential support for the value. So here's something, a little ninja tip that we suggest. We use this here in our appraisal system here, especially right now. When you're getting multiple offers on properties, which you are, okay, so whether you're the listing agent or you're the seller, you're getting multiple offers. So if you're listed higher or getting offers higher than list price, that there's no sales that support the high number that you've gotten, but you have multiple high offers like that, you want to give a copy of every one of those offers to the appraiser. Show them, right, that all of this house has high demand. I have 11 people wanting to pay higher than list price, and all of them are qualified and right? Because that alone can support that. So like we just had a team member list a property for a price per foot that is unbelievable, like really, like literally. And we know he's going to have multiple offers, and we will be using that exact strategy because there's no direct measurable comps, but we will have plenty of evidence that it's a sought after property.
Yeah, and a lot of these comps are cash buyers. So take those cash buyers, make sure they put that on the MLS, and then print those up and hand them to the appraiser. All right, and not only that, when you're having, like you said, Amy, when you have pending offers, right? Call those agents, get that, anchor back to what Pat said. get those verbals and let them know exactly what those properties are in the MLS and what those are under contract, if they'll give you those numbers.
They'll give it to you, but even just on your own, if I get 11 offers on the property, I'm only going to accept one, but I've got 10 more that prove that they're willing to buy the house for the same price. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And anybody you can call pendings under contracts, if you know that, ask them, what properties did you use to appraise to sell that one, and see if you can get that copy of that appraisal. Even having copies of appraisals for similar houses in the neighborhood, you can get those. Go do the work, guys. Pound the pavement and go get it.
Yep, like it. All right, gas up 60% in just a few weeks of Biden's policy change. Dude, I felt it when I filled up my gas tank yesterday. I was bitching about it. Why is he not held accountable, or not? Why is he not held responsible by the media for the effects of his executive orders? I
don't even have an answer to it, right? Because that's just one of so many things right now, so many moronic things he's done without any real precedent or purpose behind them, without any accountability to the consequences of what he's doing, right? And to me, he's just pandering to all these pieces of crap that put him in office, right? That paid his way to go into office through their anti-Trump campaigns, quite honestly, And now he's just got to pay him back. To what end? And will we all suffer for it? Oh yeah, right. But is he being held accountable to it by the mainstream media or by social media, by Hollywood? Absolutely not. And that it pretty much looks like he can do anything he wants, and he'll just get a pass for it at this point.
Yeah, there was one. I just saw one news outlet yesterday about, hey, we're bombing Syria, and that was it. Boom, done. It wasn't about anything but just that one little thing.
Yeah, but they didn't mention that Pelosi is trying to steal the rights to the nuclear codes from Biden. Did you see that? Craziest thing in the world. They're trying to get it out of the sole hands of our president.
Okay, but here's the thing.
I limit watching any of that crap right now. I'll be honest.
Okay, I'm going to say something about that. She was trying to do that before Trump was out of office. That's why they were trying to get him, impeached or something. They were trying to pull, was it Amendment 25? I don't know what it's called. But the same thing was happening. So she's been attempting this with both presidents. So we all probably need to pay attention to that just a little bit. I just want to speak to the overall. There seems to be, just in an overall sense, there's a contradiction. There's this double standard thing across the board on all sides, right? Like I mentioned, the actress last week that was kicked off of one of the Disney show Mandalorian because of something that she posted about. She's the opposite political view of the other star on that show. And they discovered or found where he posted almost a very similar comment, tweaked the other direction 2 years ago, and yet he wasn't released from the show, right? So, which standard is it? And they happen to be friends, even though they're diametrically opposed on their political viewpoints. This double standard thing is it's happening more and more and more. And we just want to we do as business owners want to be aware of that and watch, and protect the channels that you have to promote the content, your value of content and the services that you offer, and make sure that you are keeping yourself in a position to do that.
Yeah. All right, next question. I have a wholesaler in my area that charges 33% of the entire deal for bringing the buyer to the deal. Is that the norm, or are they taking me for a ride?
Charges.
Amy? Charges. That's what that's for bringing a buyer, they'll take 33%.
Okay.
Right.
First of all, there's no such thing as charging for a buyer. That's not how it works. If you're a wholesaler, you have the property under contract and you are now selling the property.
No, this is a wholesaler. This is somebody bringing the buyer to somebody else's wholesale deal, I think.
Well, same thing. You can't charge for a buyer. You're a co-wholesaler. You're not an agent. You don't represent the buyer. It's not a commission, right? You don't get to charge. This is very important. I think that language needs to shift in that question. You're not charging a commission or a fee, right? You are somehow a joint venture investor in this transaction. That's where you are, period, right? And the buyer's willing to pay what they're willing to pay, and the other parties are willing to pay whatever they're willing to pay you. And if you're not willing to bend in that position for what you want to make as your profit, well, you better be a good negotiator and get what you want.
Yeah, buyers are the easy part of the equation right now. It's the sellers that are hard part, and this power flip-flops back and forth just like it does in a retail side, right? When it's a seller's market, sellers are douchebags, and when it's a buyer's market, buyers become douchebags. It's just how it works, and it's no different here. But you don't have to you don't have to give up the the farm to find a buyer today if you have a good contract. Just kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I'll answer that question. I think it's perfectly fine, me personally. I mean, if you're in an area where you can't find a buyer and you're going to use a fellow wholesaler that has a great buyers list in that area, dude, I got no problem. It's kind of like, if you look at the movie, you look at the movie Frosty the Snowman, right, as a perfect example.
Frosty the
little dude is trying to get Frosty to the North Pole because it's getting warm, and they go get a ticket, and the dude that's selling the ticket says, no money, no tickets. And now Frosty's screwed. He's got to get up north, right? Same concept. No buyers, dude. You got no profit. Bingo. That's all I got.
Well, you make it clear. It's what is it worth to you? Is the deal still worth it to you? And what do you care about the guy's going to make? And for the guy that wants to, right? No. And for the guy that wants to make the money, well, if that's what you think you're worth, then you better do a damn good job of putting that down to get that. There you go.
Money, no tickets. No money, no tickets. All right. Next question. Since HUD just extended COVID forbearances for FHA and USDA loans until June 30th, do you foresee Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, hedge funds, etc., following suit? And what would this mean to the market? Pat?
I don't know if everybody extends when bills got to get paid. Eventually, you got to pay the piper, right? So at some point, this stuff's going to come to a head, and I believe. And again, I'm not a great economist or anything, but the longer it goes, like any tough decision, the longer it goes, the harder the problem will be to recover from, to make better, right? So if others follow suit and just keep kicking the can here, man, it's gonna get worse for everyone, not just the lenders, but the borrowers too.
Yep, Amy.
Agree with Pat. I really like it.
Yeah, you got to look at. I just saw another article today that I said FHFA, I think it is. They extended the forbearance period to 18 months, right? And then with the new extension set in motion, you got to look at it. It's some borrowers. I think they said at the end of pushed forbearances as well through the end of I think it's August. I could be wrong, right? That's going to push. So what's that going to mean to the market? It's going to keep pushing, just like we talked about. I think a couple months ago, everything's getting pushed off, but the inevitable is going to happen, right? People, if you keep pushing back forbearances, in Amy, in our short sale days, every time we would do a workout for a client, a huge percent of them would go back into default. So it's really just pushing off the inevitable. If they can't afford it, they can't afford it.
I'm going to make. Go ahead, Ames.
Well, I was just saying, it's as high as 70 to 90% will go back into default. So all we've done is push off a massive wave of defaults coming.
So I'm going to make a prediction here, right? And this is my prediction that I believe, right, that the banks have a plan, and their plan is not to foreclose on tens of thousands of houses. My belief is that they're going to wait for COVID to kind of run its course, and now that we have a new president, it should run its course pretty quick, right? We're going to get the economy re-inspired, people back employed, and the bank's going to say, okay, I'm going to let you start making current payments. We'll take all of this and put it on the back end and extend it out another 10 years, right? And in effect, make that mortgage worth a lot more to the bank, allow people to stay in their homes, and the banks not have to go through the devastation. And it is financially devastating to a bank to foreclose on a property. It's not a financial windfall for a bank. So that's my prediction. I don't believe we're going to see this massive foreclosure tsunami.
Amy, anything on that?
I agree with you that there's going to be some programs. I think that all bureaucratic things, though, there's going to be hoops and things that make people jump through. There's still investors behind all this that are going to insist for certain things, and that's going to cause mess and slow down and delays. And there's still going to be that giant percentage of borrowers that simply don't have healthy relationships with money, and simply, no matter what the bank offers, they're going to claim they still have all of this suffering from other losses, and they're going to still not pay their mortgage. So I still believe there'll be an uptick in defaults.
Yeah, and I think it's going to hit more on the commercial side, in my opinion, than on the, the single family side. But there's going to be an uptick. I do agree with both of you guys, but commercial side is going to be, my opinion, higher.
I think commercial side's been decimated in certain asset classes.
Yeah.
Certain asset classes, not others, right? I mean, some are just crushing it, but for sure.
Yep. All right, cool. Next question. If grocery stores are open, liquor stores, takeout, post office, delivery services, gas stations, why is it that teachers feel they are more important and schools need to stay closed? Private schools, which remained open, prove the teacher unions are wrong. Why are they ignoring the facts and science? Pat, I don't know. That's
I don't know why, outside, again, just using it as an excuse. And I think they should have been held accountable to kind of the reality, the facts of what's going on, and then push back to school. Our kids are suffering across the board, from missing an entire year of education to mental issues to social issues, right? They're suffering big time. And somehow teachers feel, and again, there's great teachers out there, and I'm very much generalizing. So really, I'm speaking of the teacher union. So don't anybody get their panties all wound up on this discussion, okay? But at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is teachers are resisting going back to doing their jobs. Yet there's schools in the parochial side of things that have been open through the whole thing, and kids are not getting sick, and teachers aren't getting sick, and it's working out just fine. Right. So the argument falls flat, and it's one thing to drop the ball, when it doesn't have a ripple effect, but here it affects the most vulnerable group of people, which are our kids. When I say vulnerable, I'm not just saying to COVID, right? I'm saying vulnerable to the negative effects of this COVID lockout. Now, there's even plenty of data to support that lockdown and lockout was never the way to go either, right? But I'm talking specifically in schools, and holy shit, go back to school. Go do your jobs, right? Or quit and admit that was not your job to begin with. Holy Christmas already.
Amy, anything on that side of it?
No, I think Pat answered that really well. I really do wish that there was, I don't know. I'm torn sometimes, because I do see it is a real illness. It does really, some people don't do well with it, but the reality is that there's lots of illnesses like this. It does happen. We have to continue doing what we have to do. That's just how to go any deeper than that.
And thanks everybody for sending these questions. If you guys get rattled at some of these questions, they're coming from you, so don't shoot the messenger.
Right.
I'm saying.
And listen, it's tough questions. Like, I get it. Like, you will have conversations, like talking with someone, and these kind of questions come up, and I'm like, sometimes like, I really don't know like what to say. And don't be worried about it. Say whatever it is that you feel. That's what we come here to do today. And so these questions we got to talk about.
Yeah. All right. We got a real estate agent question. I'm an agent and have been on a ton of webinars on lead generation. Everyone keeps talking about online lead gen, but that does not produce any leads for me personally. What marketing is driving in most leads for agents? Amy, want to take a crack at this first?
Bringing most leads from agents. So I would say right now, it's not for every market. It's going to be a little bit different. For all skill sets that you have, a little bit different. I think number one, you need to be on social media. Number one, because it's such an easy way to get your voice across. It helps build your brand and the story and the rapport connection with you over time. So that overall layer has to be there. Okay. As far as direct mail goes, I would say that you're going to have some technology to support you for some of the same results for a higher response rate. And that would be, texting, ringless voicemail, using some of the technology to support you to reach more sellers. And then got to get creative right now. So getting resourceful and pulling back out some of the old school stuff to get listings, getting sellers to work with you or working with someone else are going to be essential.
Yeah, and I would say so. I mean, I don't list anything. I'm an EXP agent, but I don't do any listings or anything. I remember that one listing back in I think it was, I don't know if it was Clinton or whatever. It was on can't remember the address, but I listed one property. I got about 1,000 calls. I'm like, dude, I'm out.
I'm out. I tap.
I'm like, this sucks, dude. I'm out. Right. But we have a lot of real estate agents that use our virtual assistants for lead generation. The most success I see is the real estate agents that are also investors, right? So there's two things. Number one, texting, calling is very, very good, especially if you know how to communicate with sellers. Number one, right? You could offer a bunch of different services. that no one else can offer. I would also work with other investors. I know a lot of agents don't want to work with other investors, but it is a freaking gold mine. We call those tweeners, those deals that just, you can't buy it low enough, but market will pay that split in there. So guess what? Work with investors, get off your ass, start networking, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a key. Go ahead.
I love to remind people, so this is a totally silly analogy potentially, but years ago I went fly fishing, and I'm of course the only girl because it's my life. Anyway, so me and a whole bunch of guys fly fishing, and I'm the only one that caught any fish. Now, why? Because when I was doing the little, whatever you call it, throwing out the
flying, when you're doing the flying.
You really know how to fish.
Okay, so you have the little thing.
Doing a flying.
Casting, Amy, casting.
Casting. Okay. So when you're casting and you have the little fly, the little thing you make, like you wrap it, it's real cute. Okay. All right. What is that? It's a bug. And the whole point of fly fishing is to throw that little guy out there so that the fish think it's a fly, right? So that they'll bite. Okay. Now, why do I bring that up? Because if you're trying to go get listings, all right, be the bug. Like, where are the fish and what will make them bite? Like, I can't help. I literally will walk people through this mental exercise because I think sometimes we just think that if I just put myself out there, I'll get listings. No, you've got to go put yourself where the fish is and give them something that they want. Right now, that's important. Investors, that's what we do. We look specifically for motivated sellers. We look specifically for places where sellers are. We find solutions. We engineer solutions and so forth. As agents, they tend to kind of sit there and like, well, I got my license, so I should be able to get listings. It doesn't work that way. You want to go out there and really put yourself out there to connect with where the sellers are. Get creative. Where the permits are investors who are going to renovate a house or build one. Great. Those should all be people that you're going after. Every time you see a dumpster in a driveway, that's somebody that might want to sell their house. Every wholesaler is marketing to sellers, that they have people who want to sell their houses. It can't be a wholesale deal. Like, think that way. Where are the sellers and who else is contacting them, and go get in front of them.
So in summary, figure out where the buyers are, put fake bait out in front of them. When they bite, hook their asses and drag their ass to shore. Quickly get dried up.
It is not fake, but just take the fake word out. But
fake fly. I'm just trying to carry it out.
All right, next question. I'm struggling with how I either disperse leads or know how much I invest in each marketing channel per person. Do you have a system? I'm struggling with how I disperse leads. So I'm assuming that you have a number of acquisition people that work for you. So let's just assume that first and foremost. Yeah. So let's tackle that one. I'm struggling with how I disperse leads. Well, first and foremost, you have to really look at who is on your team. You most likely have a senior acquisition person and a junior acquisition person. You have to send the best leads. Kind of like in some of the coaching programs when they look at different types of buyers, right? They categorize them A buyers, B buyers, C buyers. Same thing. You have to categorize. You may categorize your leads that come in, motivated seller leads, by area, right? So for instance, in our office, we have New Haven and Waterbury goes to Adam because Adam knows every single thing about those towns. And we have buyers in there. He's got relationships. So once he gets on a phone with a call with someone from those areas, he knows exactly who's buying them just through the makeup of them. So the point is, who disperse, you have to know who is the best in those areas. And then on the investment side, you are going to spend more money on your senior acquisition people than your junior acquisition people because they're going to make you the most amount of money. Until those junior people get better, right, you're going to spend less money with them. That's my take on it. You guys?
Good.
All right. Next question. Oh, my. The makers of Mr. Potato Head have stopped the Mr. and Mrs. from their brand. What does this ongoing removal of gender mean to our society as a whole? Mr. and Mrs. Dude, I'm not, you can't make this stuff up. You guys, who wants to take this one?
Ames, you want to take this one first. Go for it.
They want to take away our identity. We're all supposed to be just one human. And I don't know. I don't even know where to go with that. It doesn't make any sense at all. I don't understand where it came from that it's offensive to call somebody a mom or a dad or a miss or a Mrs. or a Mr. Or I just don't understand. And I don't want to label myself a feminist in that regard, because there can be some negative connotation to that too. I am all about having my identity as a woman and being a strong woman and as an entrepreneur. And I'm very proud to be a woman. I like the title of woman or Mrs. or mom or mother or, even ma'am down here in the South, right? Like that's not offensive to me. So it's hard for me to understand where that's coming from.
Well, that language is not offensive. People choose to get offended by it. And that has nothing to do with the language. It has to do with the bullshit meaning they apply to the language. Let's call it what it is, right? And the challenge that we're undergoing right now is we're letting tiny little minority groups with big voices steer the ship for the majority, which is the most chaotic, mindless thing in the world to do. It makes zero sense, right? There's nobody who thinks there's a real problem. I say there's nobody. The vast majority of people that walk within our country boundaries do not have a problem with Mrs. or Mr., right? But there's a tiny little group that figures they got to change everything. And they're the same ones who misconstrue the understanding of equality. People inherently are not equal. There ain't nothing equal about us. We're uniquely different, and that's awesome. Yet we have equal rights, which is a whole nother bucket. But what we're convoluting is we're trying to make people equal and not just have equal rights. And that's where this whole discussion gets so lost. We're not equal. We talked about this last week, right? You look around at different sports that are out there, professional sports, and you'll see certain types of people, body type, size, strength, explosive, gravitate to certain sports because that's the type of sport it is, right? And vice versa. People are not equal. Equal rights, but we're not equal. And trying to make us all equal is ludicrous. And taking away our identity, like you said, Ames, Mr. and Mrs., he or her, right? It adds to the lunacy. And the last part of it is us letting tiny little minority groups steer this massive ship is probably the most lunatic part of the whole thing.
I know. I'm so glad you said that, because actually I didn't honestly think about that. But that is what's maybe bothering me the most. That it's if a small percentage is offended, it doesn't mean that the majority has to change. They can, on their own, small groups, whatever that is, they can choose to call themselves whatever they want, right? That's what's so cool about our existence as well. I can label myself whatever I want to be, right? That's my choice, right? So if they want to label themselves differently or amongst themselves have certain ways that they protect each other's equality or whatever, that's totally fine. But I don't think you should inject that across everyone. I guess I love that. Yes.
I just want to know what you teach your kids now, because out of respect, I grew up as saying, "Hey, Mr. Precor. Hey, Mrs. Ransdell."
You teach them the same damn thing, right? You teach them proper ethics and manners, right? And you don't bow over to the lunacy. It doesn't make any sense at all.
All right, we got one last question, and let's rock and roll. I know we're getting to the top of the hour. I work a full-time job, and I'm growing my real estate investment business on the side. I'm really struggling with balancing job, side hustle, and family. How do you all find balance? That is a phenomenal question. Amy, I see you take a huge breath there. Huge breath. Amy, take it away.
Well, you experienced my yesterday, and it was definitely not balanced. Wow. Okay, so balance is a myth. I just want to say that right then and there. There's no such thing as balance. There's you making choices as to where you want your energy to flow, where you want to be focused, what you value, and therefore what you put your priorities to. That's it. Okay? It's choices. It's not balance. All right. And when you see people who are, quote unquote, balancing a lot, right, whether that's true or not, let's say that that's just your perception and it actually is true, then, find out, or ask or observe, model what it is that they're able to do to have strength in each one of the areas that they look to, quote unquote, to be balancing. But I don't, the comparison trap is bad. Like, don't necessarily think, well, if so-and-so is doing this, I should be able to do this. Like, there's a lot of pressure people put on themselves to have balance. And sometimes we put ourselves, quote unquote, out of balance by trying to put too many things into our life to have perceived balance, right? I've got to go do yoga and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. So just choose. You have choices. Choose what is going to fit for you and the lifestyle you want.
Yeah, and I'll add that, Pat. You can put a bone on it at the end, but I would definitely look at it and say you have to set whatever goals it is that you want to set to accomplish. That's first and foremost. Start with that. But in the end, man, it's hustle, mindset, and grit. That's what it's going to take. Side hustle ain't easy. It's not easy. I mean, every single one of us on this call have done it, and we continue to do it on a daily freaking basis. So that's for you entrepreneurs, that's never going to stop, just so you know. But you got to also.
Right. And balance for me looks very different than balance for someone else, right? Someone else, their balance is they want to sit at a bar every day, and that's balance for them. For me, balance is I want multiple companies, multiple streams of income. I want to grow things, create things, because that's how I'm built, right? So balance for everybody's going to be different. And I don't even want to use that word. Let's take that word away. But everybody's life's going to look different.
And some of you may need, may need the backing from your family first and foremost. You set the goal, and they say, "Yup. Mom or dad, I got your back on that." That's a lot easier to then grit your teeth, put your head down, golden retriever with blinders on. You got a tennis ball that's right there running in traffic. You're going to get that freaking tennis ball, right? That is what you actually need to do to be able to accomplish any of this stuff. But it's grit, and you're going to be working your ass off, and it's tough to balance that first year you're doing it. So,
and I'll just chime in with Bob's bow, right? So Amy, I agree 100%. Balance is the improper word for it, right? If you only have 100% to work with each day, you can't give everything in your life 100%. You don't have that much to give, right? So to your point, Amy, you got to make choices how you distribute that energy, and that changes, right? Based on where you are and what season you are in your life and what chapter you're in, and what's your bigger priority right now. But there is harmony, right? And harmony is where you find just enough juice for all the areas of your life that matter in a way that keeps them working together and supporting each other. And it changes. For instance, if you are starting this new side hustle, this new business, you can let go of some of your focus on health and fitness. You don't need 2-hour workouts every day. You might reduce that down to 10-minute cardio workouts in the morning as you juice up what you're doing here in the business. But the truth is, you can't neglect your children in that way. You can't take off 90% of what you normally give them. They still need a certain amount of your love and affection and commitment on a daily basis, as does your spouse and so forth. So Bob, to your point, and I'll just bring this as a closing statement here, right? As we bring new things into our lives, and we're going to do these new challenges, these new side hustles, these new businesses, whatever they're maybe, the key question we got to ask ourselves early on, right, is if we're going to do this, which is going to take this much of my time, what am I going to give up that I'm already doing? Because we're already all consuming 24 hours a day, every single day, right? We're using that time for something. And if we ask ourselves early on, Bob, you just said you expressed it in asking your children to support mom and dad, right? Ask yourself, what am I willing to give up? This way we can selectively choose where that time comes from versus it getting by default stolen, typically from the areas that need it the most from us. And that's where we run into problems. So it's finding harmony. Just remind yourself, nothing in nature is in balance. It's either coming or going. It's growing or dying. The tide's coming in or the tide's going out, but it's never coming in and going out at the same time. It just doesn't work that way. But nature, by design, works in great harmony. It supports itself and thrives.
Very good. Very good. Put a ball on that puppy.
Bam!
Bam! That's it. Drop that mic. Let's get rock and roll. But anyway, thank you everybody for jumping on. Appreciate you for sending in all these incredible questions on a weekly basis. Thank you very much. Definitely, Amy, any parting words?
No, just make sure that you have found us. If you've not joined the Facebook community, Friday Coffee Break Unfiltered, go ahead and join that community. There's some really great things coming there. And make sure that you're following us, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us and share us on different platforms. And we'll catch you on the flip side this year with some amazing guests and all kinds of things coming. So.
Awesome. Pat, anything on your end?
Yeah, we're doing, for anybody who wants to join us tomorrow morning, 10 and 9 a.m., right, over on Clubhouse. We're doing the Clubhouse on, it's titled Power, Finding Your Authenticity. So it's a neat discussion. I have some cool guests coming on for that too. So if you guys want to carry over to that platform and have some neat talks, man, I'd love to have you guys on.
That's 9 a.m. EST, that is.
Every Saturday morning.
Every Saturday morning. Got that. So, all right, with that being said, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you staying on for the extra 10 minutes. We typically round it off at about 10 to 45. Thank you. Nice place you put. We got some great comments coming in. Great session again. Love you guys so much. From Terry, Guy Hodges, what's up? Dennis, thank you very much. Hope, thank you very much. Solarange, thank you very much. We'll see you guys. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Peace, everybody.